Hello friends, and welcome to Webronaq. Here is a question worth sitting with. What happens when 3 of the biggest Linux distributions all ship major releases within the same season? That is exactly where we are right now. Ubuntu 26.04 LTS, codenamed Resolute Raccoon, landed on April 23, 2026. Fedora 44 followed just 5 days later on April 28, and Debian 13, codenamed Trixie, has been live since August 2025. 3 distros, 3 very different philosophies, all competing for your next install. In this video we break down how these 3 actually differ, what each one is genuinely best at, and how to pick the right one for your specific situation. Let's start at the roots. Alright, all 3 distros share the same Linux kernel DNA, but their founding goals are completely different. Debian was started in 1993 as a community project with one obsession: stability above everything else. It moves slowly on purpose, freezing its package set and testing it for months before a release ships. Ubuntu, which launched in 2004, is literally built on top of Debian. Canonical takes Debian packages, adds tooling, polish, and a predictable release schedule, and ships a version that is much easier to set up. Fedora is a different story entirely. It is Red Hat's upstream innovation lab. New ideas get tested in Fedora first, and whatever survives eventually flows down into Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So even though all 3 run Linux, each one is answering a different question. Now let's look at how that philosophy shows up in release timelines. Here is the interesting part. Same Linux base, wildly different lifespans. Debian 13 Trixie, released August 2025, gives you 3 years of full security support and then 2 more years under the LTS program, totaling coverage through June 2030. That is a long, quiet runway. Ubuntu 26.04 LTS gives you 5 years of standard support, out to April 2031. Add an Ubuntu Pro subscription, and you stretch that to 10 years. Fedora runs on a completely different clock. It ships roughly every 6 months, and each release is only supported for about 13 months. That means if you miss an upgrade cycle, you are already running an unsupported system. Right now, something real is happening this week that shows exactly why this matters. Today, June 27, 2026, Microsoft's 2011 Secure Boot Signing Certificate expires. Every distro is shipping updated shim packages, signed by a 2023 certificate. On Ubuntu or Debian you run apt upgrade. On Fedora you run DNF update shim. Different cadence, same urgent fix. Now look at this. The 2 package ecosystems are not interchangeable, and the size difference is real. Debian and Ubuntu both use apt with .deb packages. Their combined repositories give you over 60,000 packages, covering almost anything you might need. Fedora uses DNF with .rpm packages. Its official repos carry around 15,000 packages, though RPM Fusion adds many more. Here is where things get spicy in 2026. Ubuntu's default sandboxed app format is Snap, controlled by Canonical's centralized Snap Store. Fedora ships vanilla GNOME and defaults to Flatpak through FlatHub, which is community-run and vendor-neutral. An April 2026 piece on XDA developers argued that Fedora is increasingly becoming the default Linux recommendation for developers frustrated with Ubuntu's aggressive Snap defaults. That tension is real and growing. Next, let's see where each distro actually dominates in the real world. Let me show you what the numbers actually look like in 2026. Ubuntu holds 33.9% of enterprise Linux server deployments. It is the default Docker base image and the default Windows subsystem for Linux distribution, meaning, if you spin up a container or open a Linux shell on Windows without thinking, you are probably already on Ubuntu. Debian is the quiet workhorse of minimal deployments. A lean Debian server install runs at around 200 megabytes of RAM, making it the go-to for lightweight VPS instances where every megabyte counts. Fedora is increasingly the developer desktop of choice. It ships Fedora 44 with Python 3.14 and C++ 26 toolchains right out of the box, no third-party repos needed. And the secure boot story from this week illustrates each distro's character perfectly. Ubuntu and Debian push the fix through their familiar, quote, apt upgrade command, while Fedora users run DNF update shim and are done. Different tools, same result. Now how do you choose? Alright, here is your decision framework. 3 questions. First, how long do you need stability without touching the system? Multi-year freeze with minimal fuss points to Debian 13, covered through June 2030. A predictable 2-year LTS cycle with up to 10 years of Pro support points to Ubuntu 26.04. A fast 6-month refresh with the newest toolchains, points to Fedora. Second, do you need the absolute latest runtimes right now? If Python 3.14 and C++ 26 on day 1 matters, that is Fedora's lane. Third, are you running cloud servers and containers, or a developer desktop? Servers and containers lean Ubuntu or Debian. Developer workstations lean Fedora. The key takeaway is simple. All 3 distros run the same Linux kernel. The real difference is philosophy. Stability and longevity for Debian, broad compatibility and ecosystem reach for Ubuntu, and constant innovation for Fedora. Pick the one that matches your workload, not just the name. Thanks for watching Webronaq. See you in the next one.